Hello, I am Diane Cox, and thank you for your enthusiasm about having a tarot session for South African questions. What I'd like to say is, obviously, the minute the questions start coming in and we start talking about it, I immediately ask the spirit realm to guide everyone in love and compassion and kindness, and that every bit of guidance that comes in is based in love, passion, and in support of divine love, in support of kindness, and awakening the world to this wonderful utopia that it can be. Okay? You know, you are all tarot readers, you are all healers, we are all in this together. And so the minute you're thinking of a question, your spiritual entourage is already feeling the vibration. We know that everything in creation starts with thought. So the whole wonderful thoughts of the questions, and then you writing the questions, and then me taking the questions in and me offering them up to my own entourage. Your angelic realm speak to my angelic realm. They speak to their whole network and all other wonderful spiritual energies out there, all who serve in love and compassion. It's all about the service into love and compassion. Very important whenever you do any of this work to kind of go, okay, this is all about guidance, because we want to enrich, uplift, enliven. Okay, so that's the basis of it. And I really enjoyed your questions coming in. It was really great. And what I thought I would just say, and you probably know this anyway, you know that the ancient tarot are full of wonderful symbolism, and the tarot are a bridge between the reality of our earthbound existence and our deep spiritual eternal knowing. So the tarot are a bridge between accessing some unconscious information that we may or may not know we have. So the tarot are a wonderful, rich, symbolic tool to use in order to find those solutions within ourselves. Because when we ask any question of any divination method, it's because we seek certainty, isn't it? We seek certainty, we want certainty, we want security, we want safety. And so all answers come back to how can we find security and safety and certainty and love and kindness and compassion within our own self, and how do we ripple that out and radiate it out to the world. So I was quite interested in the questions that came in, and are quite specific. Some of them are quite funny. I quite liked it. And this is what I did. Okay, so I know I said I was going to do something at 7 o'clock this evening, and I am going to, but it's going to be a bit different. So what came up for me while I was meditating on this tarot journey and this experience and this collective wonderful thing that we're in, and on the group for connecting consciousness, what I actually did was sat and meditated on the questions, really kind of focused on the people in the Connecting Consciousness group, and the kind of, so because when you do tarot, it's like, well, whose side am I looking at here? Is this just the querent side, or am I looking at any other outside influences? So you have to be quite specific when you're phrasing. And so I was like, okay, this is obviously based in love and compassion, divine love, and for the good, the side of good and, you know, enrichment of humanity. So what I did, I asked the questions that came in on the group, and I took a card for each question, and just saw what came up. You know, it's a brand new thing. I'll experiment. I'll see what happens. I'll see how it goes. And it was quite interesting what came up. So I'm going to read the questions out, and I'm going to tell you about the card that came up. And later on today, I think I'll do a general spread for the group, about moving forward, because there's some themes that come through, like they always do, same as astrology. Themes always come through with people's birth charts, and I am thinking of doing South Africa's birth chart, the latest one from 94, and seeing about how the astrology of South Africa is panning out. So yes, so let's go ahead with the questions and the cards that came up. So I've got the cards out. We'll see if this works. If it doesn't work, we can do it a different way. The first question was, what are the helicopters about? Okay, so I sat down, I think about the group, I think about love, I think about guidance, I think about the spiritual realm, I think about the grid that we're all in. You know, we all kind of are connected to the answers and, you know, the problems, I suppose, in a certain way. So what are the helicopters about? Okay, and this card came up, okay? The Four of Wands. Now, I was quite surprised about that, because the Four of Wands is a card of peace, harmony. The Four of Wands is a card of, you know, look at the people in the background. They're celebrating, there's kind of lovely celebratory wands, it's fire, it's movement, it's things happening, okay? So I thought, what are the helicopters about? Okay, it looks like they're about something positive. It's a positive energy, it's uplifting, it's about creating harmony and peace, and it's about creating that kind of steadfast ground and happy ground, and a kind of joyful, dare I say it, but a positive. It's a very positive energy. So I'd say the helicopters, according to these cards, are about this positive. There's something positive going on. There's a nice kind of there's a nice thing happening. The Four of Wands is about also self-discipline. It's about getting things done. It's about creating, putting things up, putting structure in place. Okay, so I thought that was actually quite a nice kind of beginning, setting good foundations, positive foundations for good relationships. Okay, and then the question was, is South Africa under a coup? It's quite funny what comes up when I read the question and I start it, and I have to get my thoughts out the way. So the card that came up for that question was this, the Queen of Swords. Okay, now look at her. Tarot is very important. This is a Rider-Waite pack. The symbolism in the tarot is very important. So look at this woman. It's a mature woman, intelligent, mature woman who's got to her position of power through struggle and using her wit and guile to get there. Okay, so I would say, is South Africa under a coup? To have the Queen of Swords, an intelligent, mature woman, well, you could take that symbolism either way. I would kind of say no. The swords of the mind are cutting. It's kind of the Queen is there. She's watching over everything, but I don't kind of think it's a coup. She's intelligent. She's mindful. She's, you know, she knows what she's talking about. And these, you know, it can be the feminine aspect of a powerful man, which is what we always have to also take into consideration. So I'd go with that kind of no. There's some I tell you what comes up with doing this South African thing. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the background. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of, I think there are some good guys in there, and I think, as always with humanity, there's always people that are doing the wrong thing. It's my little theme at the moment, people always doing the wrong thing. So Queen of Swords for that question. She looks like she's kind of saying no, she's putting her foot down, or like I say, it can be the feminine aspect of a powerful man. So I can always get clarification, and in fact I'll do that now, because I bought my my little Pandora cards, which are very unusual, and they're not easy to get hold of these days, so I'm very, very chuffed to have some of these Pandora cards. Pandora cards are the dark energies that might be sabotaging things. Okay, so let's just do a little clarification on that. So the Queen of Swords, I'm going to ask, is South Africa under a coup? I'm asking these Pandora cards what dark forces are at play here. Okay, and that's what comes up, cruelty. Okay, so that's quite interesting, isn't it? Cruelty. Is South Africa under a coup? Okay, cruelty. Well, you're all intelligent and spiritual people, so I'll kind of leave that with you. Is that woman, the Queen of Swords, being cruel? Is there something going on? I don't know. I'll come back to that, and hopefully with some clarification. Number 3, what is going on in Mozambique? Yes, indeed. What a very interesting thing that all is, as we read about Boko Haram and ISIS and people flying there and whatever. So I shuffle the cards with that in mind, and I group, and this is what came up. Can you believe it? The 4 of Wands again. I was actually quite stunned. It's like, oh, okay, some lovely celebratory harmony, some positive things going on, enjoying the results of foundations laid down. Okay, the self-discipline. Okay, so what do you think that could possibly mean? Very, very interesting. So one thing I would say that, again, this card is often related to also take your mind off the big things. You know, it's a card of celebration, so it's like have some time out, get some time out for your mind, get yourself into a place where you feel spiritually, mentally, emotionally and physically nurtured, nourished. Okay, and this is some of the other themes that were coming through. You've always got to go inside, which I know most of you are. You go inside, you go to your own security, you fill your home with the sounds and the colours and the words that you really enjoy. You fill yourself up with that stuff. You fill yourself with the things that you enjoy and that are good for you. Seems very, very important at the moment. So I think I do think there's something positive going on in Mozambique. I think there could be some good guys there actually doing the right thing. Hey, so fingers crossed. Number 4, when will we see the end of our government? And we've got this. Yeah. Uncertainty. Who knows? It's all in the mix. There's so many there's you know, people don't know. They're blindfolded. They are uncertain. It could go in either direction, which is what I say. There's a lot of choices being made. There's a lot of kind of conflict, uncertainty. You've got the water, the moon. You've got that kind of lunar reflection. This is a time of reflection for the government, the situation, and they're the 2 of Swords. The mind, the mental activity of going, ooh. So I'm sorry to say that, no, we've got, when will we see the end of our government? That's definitely, the jury's out on that one. It's still got some decisions to be made, and this conflict of maybe some people trying to do good things while others are still trying to sabotage is quite interesting. Just for fun, let's do a Pandora card on that. What dark forces are around in our government? What dark forces? When will we see the end of our government? But what dark forces are keeping it kind of going? Yeah, I could say that. Clumsiness. On so many levels. Clumsy spirituality, clumsy physicality, clumsy decisions, clumsy mentality. Anyway. Number 5. How is the coup related to the UK? Yeah, if there is a coup. But hey, I just went with it. I just asked the questions and see what card came up. And I quite like that this came up. I quite like this. So this is the 5 of Wands, fire sign. Now, when you first see that card, it looks as if people are fighting and it's all kind of a bit leery, as we would say in England, a bit kind of lively. But you sometimes have to think, you know, is this a dance? Are they creating something? Are they trying to put up a structure? The 5 of Wands is related to struggle, but also it's about competition, you know, and when I was asking this question, it's about, there's a lot of competition around at the moment. Now, what competition for what, you might ask, you know? Competing for the bride money, competing for the good, competing for someone trying to do right by the people. Okay. So the Five of Wands is the struggle. How's it related to the UK? There's a lot of struggle going on. There's a lot of fighting going on. There's a lot of I'd say backstabbing, and this bribery, and like I say, it's the theme through this. People trying to do the right thing, people still wanting to do the wrong thing for personal gain. Okay, so how's it related to the UK? Knowing the kind of ancient kind of history, I would imagine the UK is trying to bully South Africa in some kind of way, or manipulate. Shall we use that word? Manipulate. There's a lot of manipulation going on. And hopefully it's time for South Africa to stand up in her own power and show everyone what she's capable of regarding independence. If only these people at the top were not bought and paid for, so to speak. And number 6, excuse me, what is the path out of the cabal for South Africa? I really like this question, and you know what? You wouldn't believe it, but this came up again. Now, when a card comes up a lot in a kind of reading, obviously I was putting these cards back into the pack and then I was taking them out again. But I like this because there's hope. This is really a card of hope. Foundations are in place. Things are being done. You know, there are people doing the right thing. There are people laying the foundations for escape. I was kind of surprised because it is a card of peace. It is a card of peace, and things are happening. Now, we all know it's happening far too slowly for most of us, and far too secretly, and far too quietly, and we don't know about it, and it's really frustrating because we all want it to be the utopia that we know it can be, Earth, and our earthbound experience. However, we know we are light workers. We are here to hold the light, and boy, has it been hard the past few months to hold the light. And that is how dark demonic forces work. They seek to snuff your light out. That's how they work. That's how the demons work. They seek to demoralize, depress, separate, loneliness, detachment, no hope. That's why it's really important to keep these groups going, where there's this constant feeling of hope. So yes, what I actually did then, because I thought four of wands again. Okay, this is just like quite bonkers. So I took a clarification card, and the clarification card was the 6 of Swords. Okay, so the 6 of Swords is a card of moving away from stormy waters, turning your back on things. Finally moving to new places, and that can be mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Just turning your back, it's kind of really reflecting on what you're not going to basically put up with anymore, which I thought was quite interesting. I really like that clarification, moving away from stormy waters. It can be travel, but obviously I don't think South Africa is going to be travelling anywhere soon. So that was what came up for that clarification, the 6 of Swords, which is very nice. Okay, the end of a cycle, the end of something, moving away from something, which is nice. So as long as you've got something nice to move to, of course, that's the key, isn't it? Don't want to move away from stormy waters to quicksand. So it is the end of a cycle, but it's also a time of reflection and going, okay, again, what do you want now? What, you've turned your back on something, what do you want to move towards? And again, it's about going inside, and it's like, what do I want? I've got my family, I've got my home. You may have a job, you may have other things that give you joy and give you healing and constantly make you feel good and constantly recharge the batteries of your love light. You are a light, wonderful warrior, a light being to shine, which is exactly why the cabal want to dim and diminish that light. So what is the path out of the cabal. Yeah, I think it's happening. I think we've all got to really just keep doing what we're doing and saying no and refusing things. One of my constant mantras, if anything comes my way energetically, especially in thought form or energy form, is, you know, reject, deny and banish. Reject, deny and banish. I reject, deny and banish your doctrines, your laws, your rules. I reject, deny and banish. I reject, deny and banish. It's a bit like all the stuff on the common law, you know, you just don't, you know, I'm not part of it. You go off, I'm not being part of any of that. Anyway, onwards. Are we waiting for the rest of the world? This is question 7. And look what came up for question 7. It is the, dropping it, it is the lovely 3 of Swords. Not so lovely. But it's balance, isn't it? It's life. This is life. The 3 of Swords is pain, suffering. The 3 of Swords is about lancing the boil. Okay, so the boil of the global cabal boil has to be lanced. Are we waiting for the rest of the world? It's quite an interesting thing, because it's like there's this thing of the world going through this transformation, the chrysalis. It's about, you know, becoming the butterfly and leaving the caterpillar behind, and that isn't an easy process. It's complete death and rebirth. And so the 3 of Swords is about okay, we've got to go through some sorrow and some pain and some release, which we all know. We're all waiting to see evidence of those kids being released, and we're all waiting for people to be for confirmation that people have been arrested or, you know, dispatched, shall we say. I'd love to see some videos on proof of cloning and the CGI things that are going on. We just all need some clarification, and, you know, this is real, this is happening, and let's keep the faith. There's a bit of that here about keeping the faith and trusting. Just keep trusting. So the are we waiting for the rest of the world? I'd say kind of yes. We're waiting for the pain and the boil to burst. Now people will say it is bursting behind the scenes. We've seen lots of stuff that indicate the dumbs are being evacuated and stuff, but we'd just like to kind of get that clarification, wouldn't we? But the clarification is within our souls, and we are our own clarifiers, and the group is a clarifier, and our constant connection of light, amplifying the light, and spreading the light is our clarifier. How long? Are we waiting for the rest of the world, and then how long? So for that quick question, the Lovers came up. Okay, how long? Obviously you've got here the number 6 months, maybe, I'd say 6 months. Definitely can't be 6 years. It'd be great if it was 6 weeks, but I'd kind of say 6 months. It's just going to roll on, because one thing about this card is, as is the way with tarot, is this card symbolises, okay, it's the Lovers, but it's not the Lovers just in the way that, oh, this is nice, this is someone I fancy, and this is all very great and whatever. It's also about the dynamics between relationships, what happens in relationships, the ego, and then you've got karmic relationships, people's own history, what people bring into relationships, the refining of relationships, and that all goes into how long. It's the refining of a relationship. It's leaving behind that which you brought into a situation and starting afresh and evolving within that relationship. So that's all what's going on, and it's, as we all know, it's very complicated, isn't it? The future card, long and short term for South Africa. Oh yeah, the short term. This was quite interesting. Where's my short term? Okay, yeah, this was the one for the short term. Again, it's a fire. There's a lot of fire in all these cards. All right. So this is the Knight of Wands. Now look at him. Look at the horse. Look at the symbolism again. He's on his horse, he's moving forward, he's got some experience. He's not the king and he's not the page, he's on land and he's moving forward. Okay, this can indicate sudden decisions being made, lovely thoughts and action. Again, it's fire, it's motivation. It can be the start or finish of certain situations. Being fire like this, I have to think it's an initiator, a motivator, a starter. So it's a young man who can make or break situations, and I think that's quite interesting for South Africa. You know, which people are around at the moment who are really seeing this, and there are a lot of them that can see what's happening, and the old school, like all over the world, all over the place, the old school is being brought down, isn't it? And the new, raising it to the ground so the new can actually prosper and start. But it's not death and rebirth is not easy. Birth is not easy. A lobster cracking its shell in order to grow a bit bigger, a seedling pushing up through tarmac that you sometimes see. Physical birth of a baby, any kind of baby in any species, is not easy.